Hey guys, my name is Mike Swinger. Been teaching for 15 years. Most of that time was in an international school in Seoul, Korea, but it's basically it was a private school, basically a state school place in South Korea, accredited, all that stuff. So, been teaching middle school and high school, mostly high school, but several years middle school. Um, Pre-algebra through pre-calculus. Pre-algebra, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calculus. My bread and butter is between pre-algebra and algebra 2, but pre-calculus is fine too if I need to. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Yeah, here we go. All right, so we're going to learn about, let me find it here. Here we go. Find the slope of a line. Okay, so trying to use my mouse pad here. So when we talk about slope, we're dealing with really what we call steepness. And we think about slope, we think about mountains, we think about ski slopes. Maybe if you're a skier, and you're thinking, all right, that's a steep slope. So when you think about slope, think about the word steepness. Okay, there's lots of words we use. Steepness is what comes to mind first for me, in my case. So here we go. All right. Slope we're studying is associated with the graph of line. So if you think about a ski slope, really you're looking at the slope, and it's really, you can draw a line right down the slope there. Okay, and so if you drew a line on a graph, we could put a number to it to say how steep this is. What is the slope of this line or this mountain, whatever we're talking about. Okay. So here's our definition of slope. So it's the tilt or inclination of a line. I like to think steepness. Okay. We got the ratio, which is basically a fraction of vertical change to horizontal change. So a fraction of vertical change over horizontal change. Okay. And then we got the change in y over the change in x. So these are just different ways to talk about slope. All the same thing, different ways, right? The change in the y. The y value, the y-axis goes up and down, so it's the vertical part. Okay, so the change in y over the change in x. So this is like delta y means change in the y. Delta x means change in x values. And if you're talking about x values, if you're looking at a line x-axis, y-axis, x values are going left to right. So that's why it's the horizontal, the change in the horizontal, change in the vertical. Okay, so this is how we think of it in these ways. All right. All right. So tilt or inclination or steepness. Okay. We got all kinds of different slopes. Okay, and we got this kind of slope going down. If you read left to right. So left to right, you're looking down, going downwards. Or this first one up here, you're going up. Okay, you're going up the hill. Left to right, it's going up. All right. So this has a positive slope. This has a negative slope. Okay. If this was your ski slope right here, that's called cross-country skiing, right? So that's just level. So this has a slope of 0. All right. So there's no slope to it. So we also say no slope. All right. And then this right here, you wouldn't want to go skiing right here, right? I mean, this thing right here is so steep that you can't tell me how steep that is, because you go skiing on that, you're done, right? So this is called undefined. So I like to say, you can't define how steep that is. You can't tell me how steep that is. That's way too steep, right? So we got an undefined slope. So we got a 0 slope. If we're talking about change in y over the change in x, or the vertical change over the horizontal change, something like that. Okay, that's always like there is no vertical change. It doesn't go up or down at all. It goes left to right. So it's going to be 0 over something. Right? So 0 over any number you pick, but it's always in the end going to be a 0 slope. All right. Now down here, if you looked at the vertical change, right, there could be any change. If you pick any couple points, there could be any change in these points. It doesn't matter what change it is. There's going to be a number up top, some kind of vertical change over. It's supposed to be horizontal change down here, but there is no horizontal. It doesn't, from this point to this point, you don't go anywhere horizontally. So there is no horizontal change. So it's divided by 0. And if you know anything about numbers, when you divide some number, I'm making out 5, some number divided by 0, it's going to be what we call undefined. You can't divide something into 0 pieces, right? So that's why it's undefined. All right, so we got a little bit about slope, okay, how to find it, all right? So here we go. So here's the ways to know it. Vertical change over horizontal change, or the change in y over the change in x. And then we got, it's also known as, and this is what happens a lot, your rise and your run. Think about rising. Rising is up and down. You rise up, or you could fall down, right? Over your run. You run left to right, right? You don't run up in the air. You run left and right. So it's a rise, which is still the change in the y. There's your y values over your change in your x values still. So it's all the same thing if you remember these little ways to do it. Okay? So let's go to the next one. Okay. So in the next example, we're going to graph 2 points. And between any 2 points, there is a line. Alright, so if we drew a line right here, you could find the slope of that line, the steepness of that line. Okay? So if you think about your change in your y over your change in your x values. Well, we'll just think I'm going to go from this part of my line to this part of my line. Okay? It actually doesn't matter. If you're on the line, it's going to be the same steepness over and over again. Okay, which you'll see later. Okay, so let's do this. The change in the y value. So if I'm going to go from one point to another point, let's see how far I go. 1, 2, 3. I go up 3. So that's my vertical. I went up 3 units. So since I went up, I want a positive 3. And then from here, I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And I went to the right, so that's positive. If you go left, that's negative. If you go right, it's positive. If you go up, it's positive. If you go down, it's negative. Keep that in mind, okay? So that's a positive 4. So if I just do this, my change in my y value from here to here, okay, that's a positive 3. Over my change in my x value, well, from here to here, your horizontal change is 4. So 3, 4. And that is what we call our slope. That's how we define how steep something is. 3 is how far you go up or down, in this case up, and then 4 to the right. And if I did it again, if I went from this point right here, and I went 1, 2, 3 up, I have to kind of go outside of my thing here. Now I went 1, 2, I'm guessing here, 3, 4 over. Notice I'm still on my line, if you'd see it right there. Okay? Alright, so my steepness stays the same. 3/4, up 3 over 4. Okay? So keep that in mind. Here we go. Alright, so I did all that. We drew a line through the points, and then we figured out up 3 over 4. This is all you do. 3, 4, 3/4. We just did that. Here we go. Now we have to test our line to find its slope. Okay, so which we just did, the vertical change, which was 3, we went up 3. Horizontal change, we went left, or we went right 4, that's 4. So, which is the same as saying rise and run. Vertical change, horizontal change. Alright? So here we go. Alright. So I did all that in one shot. There you go. Vertical change is 3. Horizontal change, or the run, is 4. Final answer, 3/4. Okay? Find the slope of that line right there. So, in real examples, you won't have these right here, but this is just to help us to do the example. So we're going, anytime we do this, we always go from one point to another point and pick good points. This point right here isn't a good point. It's like halfway in between, maybe, right? And we don't guess. So there's a good point right here. Here's another good point if we wanted to use that one, which I'll show you. All right, so if we go from one point to any other point on the line, well, we would have to go up 1 to go to this one. We go up 1, that's a positive 1. We go right 1, 2, right? So positive 2. So if it's our rise is 1. We went up 1. Our run left to right is a positive 2. So our slope is a positive 1/2. But check this out. If we decided to go from here to here, let's see if our slope changes. We'd have to go 1, 2 up to get to that one, right? So our rise is a positive 2. And then look at our run here. I'll change the color here. Okay, I'll change the blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our run is a positive 4. So 2 over 4. Well, if you know fractions, 2/4 is the same as 1/2. And notice we got the same answer here to here. So it doesn't matter what 2 points you pick on the line, you're always going to get the same slope to the line. So pretty cool. All right, now let's go to the next one here. Find the slope of this line. So from here, once again, pick good points. 1, 2. So if we started here, we would go down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just got to check. Okay, down 3. So that's a negative 3 because we went down from this point right here. And then we'd have to go to the right one. Going to the right is always positive, so that's a positive 1. So I see my rise is negative 3. My vertical change, negative 3 over a positive 1. In math, you don't write anything, something divided by 1 usually, so we just say that is a negative 3 slope, which means you go down 3 and right 1 from one point to another. And we could go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? If we wanted to go to this point right here, and then we'd go over 2. So we would go down 6, negative 6, and positive 2, which still comes out to be negative 3 slope. All right? So here we go. Now, find the slope of these lines. We did a few already. Let's do them real quick here. That's a good point. That's a good point. So this black line right here, which I'll do it in black here, up 1, 2, 3 over 1. So up 3 over 1. 3 over 1 equals 3. That's the black line. 3. Let's do the red line. So red line, that's a good point right there. And that's a good point right here. So up 1 over 1. So vertical is change is a 1 and horizontal change is a 1. So 1 over 1 is still 1. And then the blue line. Here we go. If we started a good point right here, and that's still a good point, but I'm going to do this point right here. So I'm going to go down 1, 2. Okay. So down 2, negative 2. So always pay attention to up, down, left, or right. And to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 4 means a positive 4. So negative 2/4 means, if you simplify, negative 1/2. So those are your slopes of your red, black, and blue lines. Okay? Next one here. Find the slope of these lines. We did this already. If you see a horizontal, straight horizontal line, it has a slope of 0 or just equals 0. And then if you see one straight up and down, I'm talking straight vertical line, it has a slope of undefined. Okay, you can't define how steep that is. All right, there's our lesson on slope. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a great day. All right.